Hey everyone, and welcome back. Even though other applications like Illustrator and InDesign are more suited for creating print-ready documents, many users who only have access to Photoshop want to be able to print out their work. To better help you with your print-based projects, this video is going to walk you through the process of setting up a business card template, and in the process, discuss some of the more important tools you're going to need to know in order to better prepare your documents for print. Starting out from when you first create your document, there are a few things you should pay attention to. Let's start with the document's size. Many people know that a standard business card is 3.5 by 2 inches, or 2 by 3.5 depending on which orientation you prefer. However, to avoid any unwanted borders around your document, you always want to include what's called a bleed. Essentially, the bleed is a small safe area that goes around your document that will ensure you don't find yourself with any ugly borders and that your content fits nicely on the final print. While there's no option within Photoshop's new document window that allows you to define a bleed, you should create a slightly larger document than required. The bleed can change from printer to printer, but on a 3.5 by 2 inch document, a nice bleed size would be around 0.25 inches. So instead of 3.5 inches for the width, I'm going to use 3.75 inches, and instead of 2 inches for the height, 2.25 will work well. The next area to pay attention to is the resolution. This can drastically affect how crisp your prints turn out. When working with documents that will be printed, the higher the resolution, the more clear and crisp it will be. Anywhere from 150 to 300 pixels per inch will give you nice prints. If you have no plans on printing the document you're working on, 72 is the standard resolution for web-based documents, but as this document will be printed, I'm going to stick with 300 pixels per inch. The last area to take note of is your color mode. If you typically work with web-based documents, you're probably only going to use RGB mode. This is because RGB, or red, green, blue, is suited for computer monitors and will deliver nice, vibrant images. However, printers can't really reproduce the colors that you see on your monitor. They tend not to be as vibrant, which is why your best bet is to use the CMYK color mode. This will ensure that what you see on your screen when designing is pretty much what you'll get when the document is printed. This way there are no surprises. Alright, so now that everything is set up, let's press OK to create the document. Right away, when the document is created, you're probably going to ask yourself, why is it so large? That's certainly not 3.75 by 2.25 inches. Well, it is and it isn't. Because we're working at a much higher resolution than web-based documents, you're going to be designing at a much larger scale, which is going to result in much sharper prints. At any point you want to see the size of the document after it's been printed, switch over to your Zoom tool, shortcut key Z, and choose the Print Size button on your options bar. That looks a bit more accurate. Of course, for designing purposes, let's switch back to actual pixels or fit screen. Now, if you remember when the document was created, I made sure to add a 0.25 inch bleed to help in the printing process. While it's not necessary to mark out the bleed, I found that it helps me better visualize the area that you can safely design in without worrying that it's going to be cut off. This can be easily done by creating new guides. Under the View menu at the top, you're going to find the New Guide option, which will allow us to create new horizontal and vertical guides at a specific location. Because the width and the height were both made 0.25 inches longer, we want to create a 0.125 inch guide on each side of the document. When the first vertical guide has been added, you want to create the same 0.125 guide, but this time horizontally. Now the next two are a little bit trickier. You'll need to do a little bit of math to get these perfect. The second vertical guide will be 3.75 minus 0.125, which will be 3.625 inches. And then the second horizontal guide will be 2.25 minus 0.125, which comes to 2.125. Now, if you really don't want to go through the process of doing math during your design projects, let me show you another method to setting up your guides which may be a little bit easier. Since we know that the printed card will be 3.5 by 2 inches, let me grab my rectangle tool from the tools bar and then without dragging out a shape, simply click once on your document. This will allow us to create a new shape by inputting dimensions. So in this window we can enter 3.5 inches by 2 inches, and when we press OK, a new 3.5 by 2 inch shape will be placed on our document. Of course, now we need to center it. In your Layers panel, go ahead and select both the New Shape layer and the Background layer. This can be done by holding down Command or Control and clicking on the non-active layer. Once that's done, switch over to your Move tool, shortcut key V, and then on your options bar, press the Align Vertical Centers button, and then press the Align Horizontal Center button. This will perfectly center the top layer with the document's background layer. So now you can see that we've achieved the same result without having to perform any equations. Now I can simply drag out my guides from the top and from the left, which should snap into place. If they don't snap into place, under the View menu, you can turn snapping on. Another thing you may want to do, which is completely optional, is drag out 4 more guides that will act as your safe area. Even though we've defined where the cutoff point will be, it's usually not a good idea to place your designs like text and logos right up to the edge of the cutoff point. You can either create a new shape or just eyeball it. As the safe area won't be cut off, eyeballing it should be fine. They should be a few millimeters in on each side. So now your document is completely set up and ready to go. I would strongly recommend that you save this as a template for later use, just so you don't have to go through all this trouble next time you want to make a new business card. From here, the design is completely up to you, but as long as you've gone through the proper steps of setting up the bleed, the safe area, working in CMYK, and working with a resolution of 150 to 300 pixels per inch, your printed document should turn out great. In our next video, we're going to take a look at one of Photoshop CS6's revived features, contact sheets. We'll see you soon.